Hey everybody, my name is Brendan Dennis. I'm a hacker by trade and recently took the plunge into becoming an entrepreneur. So in this video, I want to take you guys step by step on how I did $36,000 in the first 3 months of my new dropshipping store. I started this channel to share my progress with everybody, and as well as to keep me motivated and also teach other people how to start their own businesses and where the drawbacks are, how to keep things going, how to move things forward. So keep an eye out for new videos, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell to keep up to date with any new tips and tricks and step-by-step guides that I bring out. So without further ado, let's take a look at the store. All right, everybody, so this is the store. So this is LockyPack. So the way I kind of did this was I was looking for a specific product that I wanted to have a reasonably high profit margin as well as a little bit higher point of sales. So what I did was I wanted to do a little bit more on the security side since I'm a hacker by trade, so security always interests me. So what I did with this was I wanted to pick a website or a product that was designed to be secure, so as well as keep people connected. So this is a backpack that has a 3-digit PIN lock system on the top, as well as a USB interface, so for external charging or for anything else you might want to do, while keeping everything kind of away. So the product was very high quality, and which is a very big piece of this as well. So if you have a lower quality product, you're going to always get returns. Facebook's going to start realizing this, as well as when it sends out its own customer feedback request to customers, you're going to end up running into that problem. So this is the site. So I took a little bit of a waterfall approach where I did my landing page as my main source of inspiration for the customer, right? So that way I don't have to modify a bunch of product pages. I could still keep, there's still a storyboard type system on the product pages, which we'll go over in a second. But I wanted to keep everything kind of in one spot and have all the information available on the home page, and then let the home page sell the rest of the product for me. So we got a little bit of a scrolling back here with some social proof, as well as an image of the product. Then we have meeting our trifecta of the product itself. So we had the far left here is the smaller standard one. Then we had a business style one in the middle, as well as an extra large version of the smaller one on the right hand side. So from there we go to facts and stats, which is also important, which we'll go over as well in the PowerPoint a little bit later when I break this down a bit further. But you want to have some stats in there, a little bit more of how trust is key. So keep that in mind. You can always try to sneak that in. We get a little bit of social proof here, and then a video built for the site. And then of course we have our email as well. But you can notice here that there's a bunch of call to actions in different places, and they all come back either to the product page itself or to our individual store. So ever since this, I've closed this store, just so you guys are aware. But we'll take a look at one of the product pages. So the way I did this was I designed this in a way that it told a story. So it started off with specific questions to try to get the user a little bit more intrigued into things, a startling headline. And then I keep the images nice and clean, and I do this for a reason. I want the product description to tell the story about the product rather than the pictures, because the pictures can be interpreted a lot of different ways. But if I'm pushing the customer down a specific story of features or reliability or anything else, it provides a little bit more trust and rapport than just letting them interpret what they will from an image that may or may not be your own, or may look a little weird depending on where you pulled it from. So try to keep things nice and clean. And then we start off with a story of the type of security, the easy to carry, the product sizes, the smart aspect of this, so the USB external charging, which we also have our upsell here, which goes to our power bank, which we'll go through later. I provide a 100% satisfaction guarantee, so money back, and also a lifetime warranty, which depends on the product that you're doing, might be what you want. The last thing is durability, and then we have our call to action again at the bottom, and that's very important. And then there's also reviews down here, which I've since removed since the store has been closed, so I don't want to pay for all the apps just for a store to be present so I can show you guys. So this store has been closed. So this is the store itself. So let's go ahead and take a look at the actual back end of the store. So if we take a look here, so for the last 3 months, we've done $36,283 in sales with an average store value of $73. And a conversion rate of 2.4, which isn't too bad. There was a lot of times where over the course of a week, my conversion rate would be around 6.5, 7%. Depends entirely on the Facebook ads, when I was doing new content, all that fun stuff. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a look at the first month that I had set everything up, which was July. So our first month, we actually did pretty well. We did about 14,500, and keep in mind that we're at about a 20% to 25% profit margin. So I'll let you guys do the math on that. So we're sitting at, like you say here, about 3%. We don't want to do a compare. So as you can see, this is not fake. It is the store. 7,000 visitors, about 15,000 in sales, and the average order value is about 69. This was before I added any upsells or anything along those lines. So keep that in mind. So not too bad for our first month, given the fact that there wasn't any real product testing before this. This was legit the first month that it came out. So we'll go ahead and go to the month before, and we did another 14,300 or so with around the same conversion rate, but you can see the increase of the average order value, which is because of the upsells for the battery packs that we ended up doing. And there's a few different upsells as well, but the battery pack ended up being the biggest one, as you can see down here, with 71 of them, as well as this is when the email funnel started to kick in, the anti-domain sniping for Google search ads, all that stuff kind of started coming into play. So you can see that here during the following month. And in September, I went ahead and started shutting down the ads, closing down the store, because I had a few other things that I wanted to start working on, right? So you can see in this month, we did about 7,500. Conversion rate went a little low because a lot of it was just residual from search engine traffic, as well as a little bit of lingering Facebook ads as they were pushing stuff out. But you can see I was closing things down over time. So this is what the store looks like. Now I'm going to break it down for you guys in a PowerPoint to kind of show you the step-by-step of how I kind of built things out and where I would change things differently. So this PowerPoint is going to go over a step-by-step guide on kind of how I approach things and where I would try to change things up a little bit. So keep in mind, I'm going to make individual videos on each of these sections so you guys can have a full step-by-step guide from start to finish to kind of how to start a business like this. And I'll be doing this for other types of businesses as well, so keep an eye out for that. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell icon to make sure you don't miss any of it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do the niche selection. So you want to look for something that catches your attention. Does it take 2 or 3 seconds if you look at it, or does it take a little less than that? If you can braze by it and not even bother to do a little bit of a look, it's not catching your attention. Go with trust your gut. Does it catch your attention, yes or no? Don't try to think it does or make yourself think it does. Does it? Branding. Try to find a product that doesn't already have a brand associated with it. It's always a good thing. For example, Locky Pack already had a brand on it, and it took $16,000 or more to get it removed and add your own. So there are other products when they're $2 or $3, you can pay $3,000 and get things rebranded. Not always the case, but sometimes it's better just to have a non-branded product. It looks a little better from a customer's perspective. Understand your common phrases. So for Locky Packs, it was like secure backpack and a few other things like that. Make sure you have that on point. Do a little bit of Google search. I'll leave the link to the site below to kind of take a look at that. If you see things starting to trend, it might be a good time to get on it. But if you see things it's getting searched up pretty good, but it's not quite trending yet, maybe you found something. Does the quality of the product is it actually there? Is it a good quality product? Is it going to fall apart? Is it like sometimes half works, sometimes works? Make sure if you're using AliExpress to look at these a little bit more in detail. There's nothing worse than starting off with a crappy product that doesn't actually work. Yeah, people might buy it, but your customer support's going to go through the floor, and that's where your businesses start going to drop. So does your product actually solve a problem? Be honest with yourself. Don't try to think it does or make yourself think it does. Does it solve a problem? Is there a chance for high repeat customers, such as somebody rebuying something for a birthday? Is it a product that somebody's going to always go back to you because it has an expiration date on it? Those are good products to keep in mind because it keeps return business, and that makes things a lot more profitable in the long run. Would you use the product yourself to solve that problem? If the answer is no, skip it, go on to the next thing. Because if you won't even use it, if your family won't use it, chances are a lot of people won't use it. What I like to use for this, and not just for dropshipping businesses, but for any business, is Ecom Hunt. They tend to work quite well with kind of getting everything right in front of you. Even if you decide not to go with that product, you get a better idea of what products can go for, how people are approaching certain ads. So really spot on. There's an affiliate link below. Feel free to sign up for you guys. It's amazing. I always use it. So next thing, we're into the building the store itself. So again, we'll have a whole video on how to actually physically build the store, but right now I'm going to kind of go on the high overview. We talked about the waterfall style, making sure everything's on the landing page, everything's nice and clean, it's readable, everything looks good. Let the page sell itself. Use custom images. Get the product home off of Amazon if it's available. Take pictures yourself. Use your phone. We've all got phones. Use it. Get your own custom pictures, put like a white background up. You can get that on Amazon too. Get your own custom images. It go a long way, trust me. You don't want other people and competitors using the same images as you. Facebook's going to notice it. Customers are going to notice it. Never a good thing. Facts and stats. It's always good to see those types of things on a landing page. Gives people a little bit more concrete of a, you've got your shit together. Everything's going good. The unique video. 90% of the people that hit my site and scroll down always hit that video. So it's a good scroll stopper to kind of get people's attention and to get them to hit that call to action button. Just re-emphasizes a little bit more about your product. So make sure there's a unique video in there on the home page. Call to action links when appropriate. You can see meet the Tri-Digit Secure Backpacks. There's a call to action link there, but it's not scattered around in stats. So be reasonable with it. You can use LockyPack as an example. And then always keep the email subscription option available because you want to start building up that email funnel as quick as possible. Good return on investment. We'll have a whole video as well as a slide on that. So product page. Product page needs to tell the story, like I said. Start off with a big headline, a big jarring question, and make sure you let them go through the story. The story is for you to tell. Let them follow the story, but you need to figure out what you want to tell them. Could be about product features. It could be about a time when somebody used it. Whatever you need to do. Keep images clean. I tend to use just the stock images for variations and then let the images inside the description sell the product for me. Don't try to throw a bunch of 10, 15 images of the product in there. It's just going to throw people off a little bit. Keep things nice and clean. Clean is always going to be your best option. Call to actions at the bottom or in between, depending on what you're doing. If there's an upsell for like battery packs that we were doing, there's a call to action inside the description. There's also an upsell for it. Keep that in mind. But it's not always just the physical buttons. So on mobile, when somebody's scrolling through reading the description, they obviously can't see the add to cart button. So it's important to make sure you have it stuck at the top so they can always click the add to cart. Make it as easy as possible for a customer to purchase. So once you have these two things done, you're kind of letting it sell itself at this point. You really don't have to touch the landing page and the product pages ever again, other than to update a few things occasionally. But this is all before you even launch the store. You want to make sure your conversions are set up. You want to make sure you're converting as well as possible. The waterfall style does that, as well as the storyline, the storytelling side of the product. The upsells that you have in place, such as bulk discounts or doing upsells of additional items. Now, what I like to do is 100% satisfaction guarantee. If it's 30 days, they send it back, they get their refund, no questions asked. Depending on the product, when applicable, I like to do a lifetime warranty. So for the book bags, if one broke, they could send it in and they would just get another one, right? So grammar is important. Make sure that the site doesn't have any misspellings or anything looks weird. Have friends read it. Family read it back yourself, read it from a different device sometimes helps, kind of get your mind out of the fact that you wrote it and looking at it from somebody else's perspective. So there's nothing worse than seeing your home page, which is your bread and butter landing page for everything that you need to have happen and misspell the word net. You know what I mean? Abandoned cart saver, I use Convergio for that, but Shopify has one in there. We'll go over that in a little bit. And then make sure you have a clear vision for the company. This is absolutely the most important piece here, is if a customer thinks you are all over the place and there's not a clear direction that your company is trying to push, you've already lost them. And this is not Shopify or dropshipping specific. This is regardless of company, you need to have a clear vision. If your customer doesn't understand what the vision is for the company, such as for LockyPack being secure and making sure people are connected across the world, they're not going to look at it the same way that somebody that does. It's just a psychological trait. It's there. It'll always be there. Make sure you have a clear vision for what you want your product to do. Keep that in mind regardless of what business you're in. Always have that in place. Now, when it comes to Shopify apps for the conversion, I tend to use Conversio for email marketing as well as the abandoned cart. X upsells for like the bulk upsells as well as upselling into the cart itself. SMS bump because a lot of people don't use their email necessarily. They might use their phone number, so it's good to get that add to cart or that cart saver being done in your or in the phone instead of email. Gets things happening a little bit faster. Lucky Orange, because data is important, and we'll have a whole section on that, but Lucky Orange basically tracks what people were doing on the site, where they clicked, where the hot spots are on the site, where people are consistently going, which is how I was able to know that the video on the homepage is getting a lot of traffic. Don't add countdown timers. In most cases on a single product store, it's not worth it. It just looks really odd. Some cases there might be some spots for it, but in a general rule, I leave them off. And don't add consistent pop-ups. Like the second I hit the site, there's nothing that irritates me more than hitting a site and asking for a pop-up for 20% off. Give the customer at least a minute to breathe once they've hit your site and they start reading, because interrupting a customer while they're reading something is not a good thing unless you're trying to do that on purpose. And if you're just asking for their email, don't even go there. Give yourself a second, use social proof as pop-ups, lead your customer on the main page or your landing page to the email opt-in to get that extra little bit. If you want to offer 15% off once they've hit the cart, go for it. I tend to avoid any massive amount of pop-ups and don't have like 3 or 4 popping up all at once right after each other. It's a good way to get somebody to close the store. So what's important here is that you can add as many apps as you want, but the store will slow down the more you have. Now, there are apps out there for caching and doing a few things like that, but keep in mind that they're not all going to work with every app. So you might cache something, but you might end up running into a problem when 2 customers hit the store at the same time. So keep that in mind. Minimize the amount of apps to minimize the amount of time your site spends to load. There's a few websites to kind of do that, but a good test is load it up on your phone that's not over the Wi-Fi, load it up on your computer, load it up on a friend's computer, and see what it looks like. And even a little bit of an older computer just to kind of see what your load time is. Because that's where a lot of people are running into problems where their Facebook ads, the customer will click on the ad, but never actually hit the landing page. That's because the site took too long and they closed it out. So keep that in mind. Word of warning for PayPal. I've used PayPal for every company that I've ever ran, and will continue to do so. At least 40 to 50% of almost every company I've launched has PayPal as a customer base. They always tend to use it. What I want to keep in mind here is do not, whatever you do, try to circumvent their policy. Don't do it. You'll run into far more problems and you'll end up being banned from it, and it'll be a loss of an income source entirely. Don't go around the policy, work with them, call them, answer their phone calls, answer their emails, be as transparent as possible about what you're trying to do, and make sure that they understand that you have a business plan in place, and don't rely on PayPal's funds for being paid out immediately, right? PayPal can hold funds for 2 days, 6 days, 6 months, so you have to be able to eat that initially. So don't rely entirely on getting that money out immediately. They don't want you to have to contact them and be like, why are you holding the money? Why are you holding the money? You can ask, but don't pester. Keep in mind, they're trying to keep everybody secure, and there's only so many ways they can do it without putting blocks in front of other people, right? New accounts, more preference to this. Make sure you're on point. Make sure your EIN is there if you set up an LLC. If you didn't, if you're a U.S. citizen, use your social. Make sure everything's kind of matching together. But when you're starting a store, it's specifically drop shipping, make sure you update those tracking numbers. And I'll leave a link to the app below because it's not on the App Store for Shopify. It's called PayPal Autopilot. And they will automatically update every tracking information in the purchase in PayPal, which if you don't do, PayPal will hold the money and then start locking your account. So just get it done. If you get that out of the way, it's showing them that you're legit from the get-go, especially if you have a brand new account. Just get it done. Get it done. Don't mess with them. They'll shut you off fairly quickly. Just play their game and you should be A-okay. Customer support. This is one of the biggest things, if not the biggest, for any business. If you have crappy customer support, Facebook will know because they send out different reviews to customers about you to get your input, which tracks up to a score, which means they can deactivate your accounts, they can deactivate your pages, your ad accounts, everything. And having good customer service goes a long way with customers too. Like, you don't have to be, 100% buddy-buddy with everybody, but as long as you're, respectable as a human being to treat them as such, be flexible. Respond to their comments on Facebook posts. Respond to their emails within 24 hours or so. If they direct message you on Facebook, respond. Facebook keeps track of what your average response time is. If they say something and then they go, okay, say thank you at the end, because it's still tracking that response time. You have to be the last one. Understand that product quality will affect your customer support and will decide the future of your store or business in general. If you have a crappy quality product and you give great customer support, people tend to even themselves out a little bit. But if you have a crappy product and crappy customer support, the whole thing drops. And if you have a good product and crappy customer support, the whole thing drops. So keep that in mind. Always keep in mind customer support is important. You don't need a phone number on your site anymore. You can get away with this with email perfectly fine. But make sure you respond. Don't let them sit there for 6, 7, 8 days. Product fulfillment. This is kind of up in the air depending on how you want to do it. You can use Oberlo or de-essers. Oberlo is pretty good when it comes to like getting things kind of semi-automated with still having to click one button to kind of order everything. I recommend that one and just paying the $70 a month and just getting it kind of done with AliExpress for a little while. Chances are you'll only be using it for about a month, because by that point you should be about 10 to 15 orders a day, and you'll go into agents, which I'll go into in the next slide. Automate as much as possible. Like I said, the extra money per month is definitely worth your time, because you're going to spend a lot of time manually clicking and ordering things. Fulfill every day. Don't skip. And that's very important, because if you start skipping, you'll get behind a day or two, or you'll miss an order, and then a customer's really upset because now that you haven't had their product, which already takes, if you're using AliExpress, like 20 to 30 days to get to them. If you're 10 days late, that's a problem. Make sure tracking is integrated and customers are getting the emails with tracking information. There's countless ways to do that. I'll go over that in a separate video. And make sure the supplier has good reviews. It's not always about the cheapest supplier on AliExpress. Just because 2 suppliers are selling the same product, one selling it for $10 and the other one selling it for $5, the one for $10 is getting things on time, while the one for $5 is half-assing it. Keep that in mind. The extra $5 is worth the customer actually getting it, because then you'd have to refund the whole thing and you've got a mad customer. Get it done, fit the suppliers, vet them, have a conversation. You can message people on AliExpress. You can message the supplier and find out what the products are. Look at the reviews. Make sure everything is okay with that customer. So, agents, 10 to 20 orders minimum. Some require 50. Really just depends. Make sure you're profitable before you hit this point, because there's no point in letting an agent kind of buy a bunch of stuff, right? So what I recommend is Kevin with Marketports. So I'll leave a link in the description. Let him know Brandon Dennis sent you. You can see it on the screen as well. Does really well. Has custom boxes. He gets the products cheaper. He's reliable. He's located in the U.S., so there's no language barrier if you speak English. He can do 3-day shipping. He can store in a warehouse in a specific location. Spot on guy. I've worked with him a lot. So feel free to use him. I recommend 10 to 20 orders. Roughly. He can also work with getting the product branded as well. It's a good guy to keep on contact, right? Try to get that as soon as possible. As soon as you start hitting 10 to 20 orders for like a week, start moving away from AliExpress, because AliExpress will start causing some weird problems with card charges, and after a while, I think spent like 15 grand with them or something, and they ended up locking the card, saying I need to be verified, and they just verified a week ago. So it ended up being like this whole stall out process for a week where I couldn't order anything. So get an agent as soon as possible, because AliExpress is not going to keep you going long term. Advertising. So there's multiple different avenues here. You have your traditional Facebook ads, which is always good for starting off. Instagram and Instagram influencers, also a good one, tends to be a little cheaper. Google Shopping is a very important one if you're selling a product that other people aren't selling on Google Shopping. That's very important. It's a whole new avenue that you need to go. Google search for domain sniping and a few other things, but also to keep your product aware. So if someone searches like secure backpack, Locky Pack shows up at the top. Cold calls and emails. So for things like if you wanted to contact people who run events to see if they want to use your product as a prize, or they buy in bulk, so you would then give them a discount and everything. So that's very important as well. Starting a YouTube channel. This is not a long-term, this is more of a long-term thing than a short-term thing. So monetization takes a little while to happen on a channel, but it at least gets the views out there, gets people to the site. It's another avenue for customers to come in that's not costing you money. Now, YouTube ads is something you can do as well. You can do YouTube ads with your own custom content, which I would recommend. Depends on how you want to go about it, but these are all avenues you can hit one at a time as you go. Original content. Get this done immediately. If you can afford a week or two delay, order off Amazon, send it to somebody, pay $200, get the original content created for you. Gives you full copyright to that content. So there's no worry about somebody copy striking you. You can copy strike others, which can ruin other people's your competition for them. Because if they start taking your videos and you start seeing it, you can copyright strike and have it removed. Now their ads are stopped. Now you are ahead in that niche space for that products. Keep that in mind. Having your own original content is key. Get it out of the way, get it done, and then once you're rolling, when your ad's starting to get ready to fatigue, make new content. Do it yourself, have somebody else do it. Either way, it's good. Facebook does know when you're copying content. That algorithm is smart. It's not dumb. It definitely knows when you're doing that, and it will cause your auction prices for ads to be much higher if you're not using your own original content. You do stand out from competitors, of course, and it also gives you free creative control to kind of put the product on your spin. Again, goes back to the company vision. How are you visioning the product? Gives you full control on kind of sorting that out. So get that done immediately. Now, data. This is so important to understand what's happening on your store, right? So with Lucky Orange, you can find out a lot of things on Shopify where people are clicking, where things break down. So this is an example funnel here. So we have our Facebook ad, which goes to a link click, to a landing page, to a product page. Then the customer ends up at the checkout, right? And then after that would be sale. Now, if you're getting a bunch of people clicking on links, but nobody's hitting the landing page, we talked about maybe the site might be slow. There might be something in between there. But if they're hitting the landing page but not hitting the product page, you know that the landing page might be the problem. If you're hitting the product page and they're not checking out or adding to cart, then you might have something with the product page. But if they're checking out and they're not purchasing, then you now have a problem with the checkout flow. So you can see how understanding that data knows where the parts break down, and you just hit each problem one by one, and then you drill down from there. So if the Facebook ads are a problem and you're not getting link clicks, that's when you use Facebook to drill into, are people viewing it? If they're not even viewing it, then it must be the scroll stopper at the front, or it might be the video itself. Swap out the video, swap out the ad copy, start testing. That's how things work. You just drill it down and you sort out one problem at a time. Don't try to take the whole thing at once. One problem at a time and consistently move forward. If you take things all at once, you're going to end up really overwhelmed and then you're going to want to quit. And that's one of the biggest problems is when people run into problems like this, they want to just quit because it's too difficult. You have to push forward one step at a time. Dealing with returns. I'll go over this pretty quick. Sometimes it is best to just give them the money back. Sometimes it's not worth the argument. It's not worth the pissed off customer. Just return it if it becomes too much of a headache for you. 90% of the time, I want the product to be inspected and then I issue a refund. So they handle shipping things back out to me and then I inspect it and then I give the refund. Everything's good because I can always send that back out later. Customers are people too. Be reasonable. Some people are having good days. Some people are having bad. Keep that in mind. Chargebacks will happen. Just provide all the documentation through Shopify and let them kind of sort it out. It's a 50-50 shot. If you've got enough documentation that says they never even bothered to contact you, they waited a month then after it was delivered and then they charged back, different conversation. So submit the documents you need, let it go. Sometimes if you know that if you got a little extra and you're not terribly worried about it and this customer is being persistent, just accept the chargeback, get your $15 fee and call it a day. Sometimes I like to restate, like if they want to return it, I'll charge them a restocking fee, which is basically the product cost within a reasonable amount. If your product cost is $60, don't charge them $60, but charge them like 20 or 30. Try to recoup a little bit from your cost initially. But remember, higher quality products plus good customer support equals less returns. It's always going to be the case. Just keep that in mind. If you have good customer support and your quality of your product is actually good, people don't want to return it. I think even for LockyPack, I think we had like 6 returns out of 500 orders, and 3 of them were because I believe they got it for somebody and the other person didn't want it, something along those lines. So keep that in mind. If you have those 2 things in place, far less returns and a lot less money out of your pocket. Email marketing. So get this running prior to the store launch. Get the funnel ready. This can be done in Conversio. I'll have a whole video on that soon. If you can run a store blog as well with information about the product niche, do that, because that's going to save you in the long run. What's important here is with a customer, you want to generate the connection, the trust, and rapport. Those are going to be your 3 biggest things, and they are crucial to building that solid funnel. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to give them an information-filled email or a value-filled email. Send them 2 or 3 of those, and then send them a sales pitch. Then you repeat the process. Value, value, pitch. Value, value, pitch. It works 100% of the time, and it's as long as you have those things in place and your emails aren't getting caught in spam folders, which we'll have a whole video on that as well. It works. Get the funnel working, give them their value, and then pitch them another product. Sometimes you can pitch them a upsell immediately, and then you can give them their information. All this can be done in Conversio. Keep on it. Now, to avoid domain sniping, this is where another competitor wants to steal the keywords for what you're trying to search for, or even they'll even put your domain name as the search itself, and then it ends up going to their site. Keep that in mind. You don't want that to happen. So set Google search ads to like run 5 or 10, maybe $15 a day for your keywords. It's an extra stream of revenue for you. So I think LockyPack spent $500 in Google ads and made like $1,800 in sales. So just by doing the $15 a day. So keep that in mind. It does work. Include the keywords for your common research as well as your domain itself. Like I said, always good to have this in place. It's just something good to avoid. So to expand the streams of income, never keep a single income stream. Now this holds true for business as well as your personal life. Like if you're just working a 9-to-5 job and that's all you have, what happens if you get fired from the job? You want to have something else in place to kind of help push some money into your account in between times where there's problems. So there's many ways to fill this, to kind of fill this up. Google Shopping is another one. Instagram ads and influence, the cold calls for sponsors to doing the prizes. You can sell even at local events. You can get like some of the festivals and stuff. You can sell locally there if it makes sense. You can even start your own. You can even rent a space and start selling it as a store as well as your website. Maybe you do affiliate marketing with your email marketing funnel, and you add in other people's products as well that kind of are similar to what you are selling but complement them. The YouTube channel once it's monetized, all of those type of things. These are all very, very good options for when it comes to expanding that income stream, and you want to get off of the one, whether it's Facebook ads or whatever you're using, you want to get off of that immediately to being multi-streamed. So the last part is here, it's going to come to scaling. Don't scale quickly, scale slowly. Especially if you're using Facebook. Facebook has an issue with change. So when you make rapid change, it does weird things and it can make you lose a lot of money. Capital is normally an issue. So you want to make sure that you have the funds to pay for the product, because keep in mind, payouts don't happen every day. They might happen every 2, 3, 4 days, a week, 6 months. It all depends. So make sure you have the capital available. So scale slowly. It might be tempting to scale up and just push a bunch of money into ads. But unless you can support it on the other end, don't do it. Scale up slowly. Keep an agent, if you have one, up to date when you are scaling. But if you're scaling, you should have an agent. If you don't let them know and they don't supply enough product, you can end up with very delayed times and a lot of mad customers. Scale one income stream at a time. If you're doing Facebook ads, scale that up first before you start scaling into Google Shopping or anything else, because you don't want too many problems to happen all at once. If something's going to hit the fan, you want to know where it's coming from first, not have to go track it down later. Make small changes at a time and monitor the data that's happening. Monitor everything that's happening as you make these changes. And if something happens, scale it back. It's never too late to scale back a little bit. Don't make massive changes to your site. Don't change the theme midway through ads. Don't reorganize the whole layout of the website. Try to make small tweaks and let it sit for a week. Small tweaks, let it sit for a week. If you replace a whole section, let it sit for like a week, week and a half. Don't make those changes massively. If, like, for example, I swapped over the theme to something else, which is an entirely different layout for the landing page, and everything died on Facebook's end. It stopped me. It sent it to different people. It sent it to weird groups of people. Very rarely anybody hit the site once it started to load. Things just started to blow up. So I swapped it back and then everything went back to normal. So keep that in mind and do things slowly when you scale. So this was the end of the video. This is kind of how I did it, my $36,000 in the first 3 months. You guys can do it too. I'm going to be making a bunch of videos, so make sure to hit that like button and the subscribe button to see more content. Thanks, guys.